Hello. I decided to do a part 5 as well, so I apologize. I keep adding to this because I keep discovering things. I forgot to share, or I didn't share that, and then forgetting to share things. So anyway, yeah. So in the timeline, let's zoom out a little bit here. So this is AD 48 right here. If I had a cursor, there we go. Alright, so AD 48 and then AD 50. So I forgot about the Council of Jerusalem. So Peter's still there in Jerusalem. And so, again, going by what Eusebius claims, that Peter felt his life was threatened, he had to just flee and go to Rome of all places, and then he come back to the Council of Jerusalem. Again, the threat was eliminated right from the get-go in AD 44, when the Lord removed the threat of King Herod, who was king of Judea, which is the area surrounding Jerusalem. So there's no biblical record, there's nothing to suggest that Peter took off. And keep in mind, John 21, he was given responsibility to feed the Lord's sheep, the lamb, the Christians, the Jews who came to Christ. When they had that conversation, Gentiles were not in the picture. Again, Acts chapter 10, yes, Peter shared the gospel with Cornelius' household, but it does not make him suddenly apostle to Gentiles. He was still an apostle to Jews, based on Galatians 2:7, was written after Acts 10 occurred, which tells you that he was still an apostle to circumcised or the Jews. So anyway, so he's still in Jerusalem. And so he's still, obviously, following what the Lord told him to do. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. Now the record here has anywhere from 48 to 50 AD. Okay. So I put it in here around 48. Alright, so I am not certain what year that was. Maybe somebody has a better idea when that happened, but based on this link, I got 40 to 50 AD, and so I put in 48 AD. So again, Peter is still in Jerusalem. Paul was the one going out and preaching the gospel throughout the entire Roman Empire. In Colossians chapter 1, verse 23, and there are 3 other passages where clearly he fulfilled that journey, gospel going out to the entire oikomene, the Greek word for known earth. What was their known earth at the time, based on the census, the Roman census. What did the Roman census look like? It was the entire Roman Empire. So if you do Google search first century census map of the Roman Empire, you will see the results of that. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So you can see Eusebius was clearly lying. Spreading disinformation for his agenda to try to tap into the religious sect, particularly the Christians, and trying to use them to centralize power around Rome to maintain strength and power of Rome, which is why we end up with the Roman Catholic Church. Alright, so yeah, it's not too hard to do this. I mean, what I'm doing here, anybody can do. Just put together a timeline and piece it together and really think through. If you see any discrepancies, you have to obviously use discernment, but hermeneutics goes a long ways. But your typical Christian has no idea how to pertain to author's intent to the usage of hermeneutics. They just have no clue, unfortunately. Your typical pastor or Roman Catholic priest, they just have no idea how to obtain the author's intent. And that's one of the reasons why I created this channel. If you go over my videos on hermeneutics, it will help you with that. And if you put it into practice, eventually the light bulb comes on. It's like, wait a minute, this is This is simple. This is easy. It's not that complicated. You just have to be aware of these things. Chronology, time indicators, audience relevance, grammar, setting, original language, who God chose to write the letters, what their background, how to tie into chronology and history. If you get a good feel and practice those things, the light bulb will come on. Oh, I am now gaining a good understanding of the author's intent. It all comes to light now. It all makes sense, and it's not rocket science by any stretch of imagination. The problem is there's so much misinformation and disinformation within Christianity that people are buying into, and it just totally creates a speck in the eye and prevents them from obtaining the author's intent. But how do you overcome this? Through hermeneutics. And if you put that into practice, you will be able to purge out the things that are false over time. So anyway, and 90% of Christians maybe being too lazy is a strong word. I don't know, but they're just not willing to do the homework. And it's so obvious. It's just not willing to do it. So anyway, here you have in the timeline, and that's it as far as the book of Acts. That's the last we hear of Peter in the book of Acts. Acts 15, the Council of Jerusalem. Alrighty. But the rest of that, Luke is recording what goes on with Paul's journey. Luke was a Gentile, so from a court perspective, he was a Gentile, but from God's perspective, he was a Jew. He was one that really knew the Old Testament scriptures, and so from God's perspective, he's a Jew. So anyway, so I think that wraps up. I'll leave it as 5 parts to this with Eusebius, and I'll just leave it at that. So, so I love, if you're listening to podcasts, I encourage you to go actually watch the video, and you get access to the materials here. So I have a timeline here where you have access to. It's an interactive timeline, which means it has links in it. When you click on it, it'll open up links. So it's usually, backing up information, backing up how I arrive to the dates and whatnot. So, for example, in this video or podcast, you click on this link, and it brings you right to the Wikipedia Council of Jerusalem, and supposedly held of AD 48 to 50. So, do we know that for sure? With utmost certainty? No. I can't say with great confidence that it happened at that time. But there are other things that I can say with great confidence. I can say Christ died on April 3rd, 8030. Now, if you disagree with that, I love to talk to you why you're wrong, because I have exhaustively looked into that. And, so there are some things I know the dates and even the hour things have happened. And so, but with this, I can only provide my source. And if you have a better source, I love to see it. Maybe you could have been 8050. Or that article says it from 8040 to 8050. But anyway, that wraps this up. So again, it just does not fit the biblical narrative of Peter just heading off to Rome and banning the house of Israel. He's supposed to be feeding them, going to a country that doesn't even speak his language, going back and forth. It makes no sense. Like he's supposed to be feeding them, right? Why would he go 1,200 miles away to feed them, or live 1,200 miles away and go back and forth to a country that's just dangerous? It makes no sense. And so Peter's heart is really in Jerusalem. He was a part of the stick of Judah, by the way, which was Jews came to Christ in Jerusalem. And I think he used Egypt as a safe place to go back and forth, where he kept his family. It makes perfect sense. Has all the water channels. He had a boat. He's a fisherman. It's not that far away. Gave him plenty of time to fish on a journey back and forth, whether feeding the house of Israel or feeding his family. It makes perfect sense. And plus, for the gathering as well. He was the chief apostle. Topography, logistics, the history, it all points to it. And nothing points to Rome except for rewritten history. Anything you read that claims that Peter's Rome was just absolute rewritten history and is false. I stand by that to the day I stand before God. I know that he never stepped foot in Rome. It just so many things wrong with that. Alrighty. Anyway, thank you for listening and watching, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.